Svalbard is an island just 1,000 kilometers from the North Pole and known as the Arctic Desert. It is home to impressive glaciers, incredible sea life and a rich history. But just how old is this place, and is Svalbard's future in danger? We've brought ourselves to the edge of the Longyearbean glacier to see what this magical land is hiding for ourselves. Oh, found one. Here's our first one. See it?
Yeah, it's a leaf.
Happy with that one?
Yeah, and that one.
Accompanied by our fierce guard dog Nala, who was on the lookout for polar bears, we were searching for fossils.
Oh wow! Look at that!
Look at that. Wow. These plant fossils are around 40 million years old. It's hard to imagine plants growing in such a desolate landscape, but 40 million years ago Svalbard was a lot closer to the equator and was home to many plants and trees. These conifer plants might have fallen into a swamp and been covered in more and more sediment over time, compressing the plant in the soil until it hardened enough to become a rock and the plant remained imprinted in it. Svalbard moved further away from the equator over millions of years and was covered in glaciers during the last ice age. And as these glaciers have slowly moved and now reducing, we are able to find these amazing fossils. How do you feel about being a fossil hunter?
I think that's our new job.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Ah, wow. Good ones. That's nice.
Loads of things.
Whoa, this is
That's
nice.
a good one.
Yeah.
It's time for a hot drink. My hands are frozen.
Just can't get the staff these days. The first humans to come to Svalbard came on expedition boats from Europe. What they found upon arrival, they really could not have expected. To find out what they found that kept them coming back, we have to go out to sea. And we didn't have long to wait until we had our first sighting.
So at the moment we have belugas in that fjord, which is kind of where we're going. They came in this morning.
We've been on the boat for 2 minutes and there's about 50 or 60 beluga whales. These big white humped whales is coming all around us. Having the best day already. Belugas are one of the many whale species in the waters here. Dutch navigator William Barents first discovered Svalbard in 1596 and found it teeming with whales, and from then many others ventured here for the whales, not just to see them, but to kill them.
So as the Dutch found this place, they realised that the waters around Svalbard were absolutely teeming with whales, and as some more of the European countries started to become more seafaring, so the UK, the French, the Spanish, they started wanting to find a way to make it to what they used to call the Orient, which is now kind of Southeast Asia. They wanted to find a way through the north and thought that that was going to be what was going to make them prosperous. But when they actually got here, they realised that the seas were so full of whales and wildlife that were natural resources to them that they realised it was probably more economically viable for them to stay in the area and start whaling for the blubber oil.
The main whale hunted was the Greenland whale. This is because it has the world's thickest layer of fat at 60 centimetres and is very slow moving. The whale blubber was pressed and boiled into oil and then used in soap and oil burning lamps.
the first people that came out were saying that the water was so full that they weren't able to even sail without hitting a whale because there were so many whales here when they first arrived. And by the end of that whaling season, by the end of the whaling kind of era, the adventurers were coming back with nothing.
The Greenland whale population was driven to near extinction, and it would be nearly 300 years until it would be seen again in Svalbard, with sightings in the early 2000s. We were not lucky enough to see one of these amazing whales, but we were lucky enough to see quite a few others.
There we go. Oh, wow.
This was low season for whales, but yet we seen over 100 whales on our 2 boat trips in the fjords. We saw belugas, minke whales, fin whales, which are the second biggest whale in the world, and humpback whales.
Here we go.
The sea was teeming with bird life, from northern formers to arctic gulls to puffins. The wildlife here in the high Arctic was amazing, and along with the dramatic landscapes, rock formations and glaciers, we were witnessing the beauty of nature on a scale we had never seen before. On the MS Polar Girl, we met a very special guy named John, who has worked on the ship for many years and has an obvious affection for these whales.
My name is John.
John, lovely to
So
meet you.
it's super nice to meet you. No, it's like a wonderful place. I came up here and felt totally in love, and
How many years did you say you lived?
15 years
15
I've been
years.
sailing on the fjord. So I have
Wow.
some 1,000 trips, but still it's so nice, so beautiful.
Yeah.
I remember I told my wife the first time I came up that, oh, I found paradise. And she fly up from Tromsø and she said,
Okay.
oh, it's cold, you know, trees, it's green, it's terrible up here.
Yeah, it's
I said,
terrible.
no.
Look, open your eyes.
It's all about perspective.
So, but of course it's...
Technically, he works on the bar, but every 3 seconds he has on the boat, he spends scanning the horizon for whales and excitedly letting you know when he has spotted a whale. You would think working day after day doing this, your enthusiasm might wane, but John has such a passion for whales, he sometimes goes out by himself at night just to listen to blue whales.
Probably the blue whale, because it's the biggest animal, it's so huge, and I had so many really good times. Normally when I go out with a small boat we have at the back here, and I stay in the fjord in the middle of the night, totally quiet, and then you cannot see them, but you hear.
Oh my god.
And now it's like, it's so many times. I stay so many hours in the middle of the night. The first one, I think I didn't sleep for 1 week because we went on the normal trip on the daytime, but it was of course light 24/7. So in the night I went out.
It's amazing to see your enthusiasm after doing it so much, right?
I tried to.
That's great.
John could spot the species of a whale from just a speck on the horizon, and with his help we were treated to some amazing scenes of humpback whales coming up for air, raising their tails and diving back down, which can be for up to an hour. Just seeing a humpback whale about 50 metres away from us. That's insane, isn't it?
This glacier is pretty damn cool. I want to see a polar bear, but we're not going to see a polar bear, but I want to see a polar bear.
During our whale watching tour and boat trip to Pyramiden, we were taken up close to the mighty northernmost glacier. Living in and around the edges of the glaciers, polar bears use important sea ice to hunt. It's the big moment, Paloma. Will we see a polar bear in the glacier? They saw one a couple of weeks ago hunting here with its cubs, so we're on the lookout.
The ice collapsed on the glacier where she was on the beach with her cubs, and then she was seen walking towards Pyramiden. But
Sea ice is the polar bear's main hunting ground to catch seals, but in the warmer months the sea ice disappears and polar bears can be seen hunting on the edges of glaciers. A mother polar bear with 2 cubs was hunting and feeding here just 4 days before we were there. A massive chunk of the glacier fell off right behind them and nearly crushed them. The mother then led them towards an abandoned Soviet settlement in search of food.
So, just asked about the rock that we can see in the glacier, how, if that's ever going to be covered back, but once it's receded, it will never be built again. So, this started to show 2 seasons ago. What happens is the rock gets heated up and it gets a lot more solar radiation and starts melting the ice around it. So it just is a knock-on effect, starts building and building and building. So this is just a one-way process. It's never going to build back up unless something drastically happens. So what we're seeing here is the biggest it's going to be. Next season it will be smaller and so on. And one of the guides here, he was here 9 years ago, and this entire peninsula was glacier. So all this rock behind us here, it used to be covered in ice. And in 9 years, this is all that's left.
With glaciers reducing and sea ice melting earlier every year, it is leaving polar bears with less natural hunting habitats, and sometimes that leads to them searching for food elsewhere, sometimes in human settlements, which was made very clear to us on our next activity.
There's a cabin up here that a polar bear have been breaking into. I think the plan is now, because it has been observed out here today, the plan is still to go to the other side. But we have a bit of cloudy weather, so if we get to the other side and it closes on us and we cannot see the other side of the shore, we paddle back instead and don't go to the shore. But if it's clear enough so I can see if there's any white dots we don't want to have a cuddle with, then we can go on the shore. And this Hjortham is an old mine settlement.
So people would store food in there?
It's not allowed to store food in the cabins when you are not there, because then bears always go into them. But some bears have had experiences where there have been something they could eat, and they eat like very weird stuff, the bears. So right now they say this cup is getting raised to be a burglar. So break into all the cabins.
Gotta be careful.
Yeah, and it's what we call problem bears, because they keep on doing it, and they keep on getting closer and closer to humans all the time. And it's not always it have a happy ending. But sometimes if they get too close to the town, so if this bear continue breaking into cabins, I think that the governor will tranquilize it and then fly it to the other side of the island and then set it out there, and then hopefully it will not come back. But sometimes they find their way back to here.
Climate change is forcing bears more and more into contact with humans as they are having to search harder for food. If a polar bear is encroaching on the town, it will be scared off through gunshots, driven away by helicopters, or even flown far away by a helicopter in the hope it does not return. If a bear keeps coming back, it will eventually be shot dead. In 2020, a polar bear on this shore swam to Longyearbean and killed a man sleeping in a tent. The polar bear was shot dead shortly after.
So Svalbard is technically known as a desert, and many name it the Arctic desert, and that is allowing for a very, very particular ecosystem on the island. But now that we're seeing massive changes in climate change, the past few years they've seen record-breaking numbers of rainfall, and actually only 13% of the land is actually covered in any type of vegetation. So our lovely little reindeers, the species that have very short legs and chubby bodies, these guys really rely on a very small amount of food available to them. The grass is not green and luscious like you normally would see. It's much more rugged, much denser, and this has to be enough to sustain the reindeer. But what's happening now, we're seeing more rainfall in October, right just as it's getting frozen. So it's causing a bit of a layer of frozen ice that's not allowing the reindeer to get through and break into the grass, meaning that we're seeing a lot more animals dying of starvation just because they simply can't access their food. So we're at mine 4. There's many mines, and this was basically why Svalbard became an industrial city and why people started to collect here, and people still mine here.
Are they still mining coal?
Apparently.
Really?
Let's have a look.
Snow from the years, and then the permafrost would keep it frozen.
So there's snow all at the back of here, and it stays frozen because of the permafrost. Pretty cool.
But what is permafrost, and how does it affect living on Svalbard?
Permafrost is a permanently frozen layer made up of soil, sediment and rock, and held together by ice that acts as a cement. Most of the current permafrost was formed during the last ice age, which over time has become compressed and covered in a layer of soil that is more malleable to changes in ambient temperatures. So one of the things that really adds to the industrial and harshness of this entire town, it took us a little while to figure it out and put a finger on it, but it's actually that all the pipes and the infrastructure are built above ground. So you see these massive sewage and water pipes, they're all built on stilts. We don't normally see these things, they're normally underground, but because of the way that Svalbard is built, we have a layer of active soil and then permafrost beneath it. As the season and temperature changes, the active layer thaws and refreezes, expanding and moving as it does so. Building on stilts protects infrastructure from sinking and damages as these changes occur. Stilts also protect the permafrost itself, keeping heat from man-made structures away from the permanently frozen layer, helping to protect this unique environment.
The permafrost here actually plays an important role in preserving the biodiversity of the world's crops through this building, the Global Seed Vault.
So we have made it up just outside of the city in Svalbard to the International Seed Vault.
The global
Seed Vault. And it's basically a big old vault, but instead of money or gold, we have seeds. There's over 1.5 million types of seeds in this area. The idea is if any species of plant they disappear, we have a stock that we can replant and repopulate. The reason that they keep them here is the permafrost underneath the mountain allows for a really low temperature. It is controlled at minus 18 degrees Celsius, so apparently that's optimum for seed quality. So yeah, pretty cool, isn't it?
Amazing.
Permafrost plays an important part in the structure of life in Svalbard, as well as preserving all of the world's seeds, but it is reducing due to climate change. Longyearbean is the northernmost settlement in the world, 1,300 kilometers from the North Pole, but it is the fastest warming town on Earth. Temperatures here are rising dangerously fast, 3 times faster than the rest of the world, altering the land, sea and air. Rising sea temperatures are melting sea ice earlier every year, meaning polar bears are finding it harder to hunt for food and coming into contact with humans more and more. The air temperature rising is causing it to rain more, which in turn freezes on the sparse amount of grass and causes reindeer to starve. Endemic species like these cannot adapt fast enough to all these changes. The increased rain then melts permafrost and is causing deadly avalanches, with 10% of houses in Longyearbean unsafe and 2 people killed in a sudden avalanche not long ago. The melting permafrost also releases greenhouse gases into the atmosphere, speeding up climate change even more. These are just a few examples of the climate and the whole ecosystem under threat here. We came to Svalbard to experience a new culture and explore the wildlife and landscapes here, and it did not disappoint. We saw animals we had never seen before on the land, in the air and in the sea. We saw landscapes so remote and beautiful we thought we were in a dream at times. We had the adventure of a lifetime, but we cannot ignore the struggles and changes we found happening here due to climate change. We felt guilt for flying here, but we hope what we have learned will help more going forward and in our decisions in helping tackle climate change. But we also want to know what you think we can all do to help and make sure the world and Svalbard is protected as much as possible from climate change. I got a boo-boo. I just tried to take the drone off in the middle of the sea and it's been behaving fine forever, but it just went a bit crazy. And I had to try and catch it because I was scared of it diving into the sea. Got my finger of it, didn't I? Feel like a right muggins.
Feeling silly.
Yeah. And to top it all off, he's a Liverpool fan. Look at that. You'll never walk alone, John.